If you can't get a loan and can't get banks to work with you on your real estate deals, you might be tempted to not do real estate. But learning how to invest in real estate without banks will change everything for you. And in this first part of a two-part series, I'm going to walk you through one of my favorite strategies to lock down real estate without having to use banks at all. In part one of this two-part series, I'm going to walk you through the very first way to lock in real estate without using any of your own money. I have literally used this specific tactic to grow millions of dollars of real estate without one penny out of my pocket and without accepting one penny from anybody else. Let's go. The very first way to get property without using banks is by leveraging seller financing. Now, you may have heard it called land contract, vendor takeback, vendor financing. The truth of the matter is, it's simply when the owner acts as the bank and you make payments to the owner instead of paying a bank. It's the best thing ever. I can tell you this, seller financing is one of the fastest things to grow your portfolio. If maybe your credit's a little low, you can't get bank money, you don't have the down payment, it's a great way to go about locking down deals without leveraging bank. But you gotta know how to navigate seller financing. So let me tell you, in the next few minutes, I'm gonna lay out some seller financing tips that will allow you to start leveraging this strategy. Because most people have heard about it and they've heard that those deals exist and you can get those deals, but they don't really know how to get them, which means it's kind of the fairy in the woods idea. Everybody talks about it, but nobody's seen it. And so I want to walk you through a few things to make sure you can leverage the power of this strategy. So the first thing you have to know is where to find them. Usually seller financing happens in people in the age range of about 65 years old. I'm not saying that people younger than that don't sell property seller financing, but often people in that age range want to sell you their property and continue to keep the cash flow. Here's one of the benefits why. Seller financing, when somebody sells that property, especially if they have the property paid off, they're going to pay anywhere from 30 to 42% in tax. Meaning if they sell a property for $100,000, 30 to 42,000 of that is going to the government. And they're giving away a lot of capital to sell that at one shot like that. And if you come in with a seller financing idea, they're only going to pay tax on how much you pay them year to year. But here's where this gets really interesting. They're also going to charge you anywhere from 6, 7, 8, sometimes 9% interest. I know it's much higher than the banks, but remember, we're not using banks right now. We're using a strategy so it removes the need for banks. And so if we go into a seller financing deal, the seller can then charge us interest every single year. So listen to how this plays out. They're going to charge you interest on the loan, and then they're going to pay tax every year on the money you pay them. Often, the interest they collect throughout the loan covers their taxes. So they can sell the property to you essentially tax-free. They just have to wait years to get it. They can just take that cash flow every single month and they can use that as a retirement and then not get that big hit in taxes, obliterating their profit. So you're going to find older owners that are kind of moving towards that retirement age. Usually those owners self-manage and they're sick of talking to tenants and trying to collect rent and getting called when a toilet breaks down. They're ready to be done. They're just ready to be done. And I'll tell you a story in a minute of how this exact scenario played out about 12 months ago for me. The other kind of person that's really looking to do seller financing is somebody that's owned the property more than 28 years. See, in real estate, there's something called depreciation. That means on your taxes, you can write off depreciation as though your property is decreasing in value. So you can decrease the value of the property and you can write that loss on your taxes. It comes out like a loss on your profit statement, and you can write off that loss for 27 and a half years. So for 27 and a half years on a property, you can depreciate your property. But that means when you've depreciated it out, you pay more tax. So when I say 30 to 42,000, that range depends on how much depreciation they've realized in their taxes on that deal. And they can depreciate a property for 27 and a half years. So if they've depreciated the property completely out, when they sell it, they're going to be at a higher end of that tax bracket, and they're going to be more motivated to come in on a seller financing deal so that they can just simply have their property in somebody else's hands and be making monthly cash flow, charging you interest, and not getting that big hit on taxes. We're looking for older owners that have owned properties 20 plus years. But one of the strategies I've used over the years, and I know this sounds crazy, is ask. Every time I do a deal, I at least ask. Just, would you be willing to do seller financing? Most of the time it's no, especially in this market. But guess what? Sometimes you hit that exact owner that I just described, And they're ready for you. They want to do that. And quite frankly, right now, when banks are giving money away so cheap, owners can actually make quite a bit of money by charging you interest. So the truth of the matter is, some owners are still looking for seller financing buyers like you. So don't discount you as a seller financing buyer thinking, well, nobody's going to want to do it. Always ask. I learned this by listening to Tim Ferriss's podcast one day. I was out on a run. I try not to run. And if you're like me, you only run if somebody's chasing you, and even then you negotiate to walk. But the truth of the matter is, I hate running. My wife loves to run. She loves to run. I don't know why, but she loves it. And she's what I call a spirit runner. You know what a spirit runner is? Somebody who goes out for a run, just decides how long they're going to run when they're on the run. I call it being spirit-led. I don't trust God that much, and you should neither. So here's the truth of the matter. I was out on a run. I was listening to this podcast. Tim Ferriss is just, he's just got some great content. I'm listening, and he made a statement on there, and it blew me away. It said, "You'll never understand what your life could be if you just asked." He launched this study kind of with himself. He didn't do research on this, but every time he went to a hotel, he asked for a free upgrade. When he went to a restaurant, he asked if they would throw in a free appetizer. He did this for 30 days, and he said over half the time, they said yes, just because he asked. I'm telling you, you'll never understand how much private capital you can raise unless you ask. You'll never understand how many people will say yes on seller financing until you ask. The truth of the matter is, our limiting beliefs often limit us asking others because we make the decision for them. Don't do that. That will severely kill your real estate deals. And believe me, it's killed a lot of deals for me because my limiting beliefs, I transport to the deal and it kills it. Please don't do that because it will really cost you a lot of money over the long haul. Before we get on to the next way to lock in real estate without any of your own money, make sure you subscribe to our channel, hit that bell notification, and smash that thumbs up button. It helps us continue to get in front of people just like you so we can keep helping people create financial freedom through real estate investing. Let's get back to the video. So not only when you find people that are doing seller financing, once you do find them, you need to know what to negotiate. Because the truth of the matter is, in seller financing, terms are more important than price. I'm actually willing to pay more money. Yeah, you heard me say it. More money if somebody will make the terms work. And you're probably wondering, what terms are you talking about? Down payment, interest rate, amortization, and the balloon option. Now let me break that down for just a minute. Down payment, how much money down are they expecting? Will they take less money down and I'll pay them a little bit more on the back end? Yeah, that'll increase the monthly payment, but as long as it still fits my strategy, which is it's either buy or hold or fix and flip, then you're gonna understand you can pay a little bit more and still get into the deal. If they can maybe lower that down payment or maybe interest rate, they can take a little bit more on interest and lower the down payment, maybe raise that price a little bit. This is something, as you maneuver these numbers, you want to create the win-win scenario. Stephen Covey talked about it in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that winners or highly effective people create win-win scenarios. Win for sellers, win for buyers. I do not believe finding somebody who's willing to sell me their property for less than it's truly worth to them, I don't feel like that's a win. That's not a win, and that will never grow your portfolio. Leading, figuring out how to get them as much money as you can and still make money for you, that's what creates a business. And when you're negotiating these terms, that's what will get people telling their friends about you. Hey, I just sold so-and-so to this. They treated me well. They made sure that I got my price. They are still going to make a little bit of money. The experience was amazing working with people. That's what brings you up at Thanksgiving dinner to other families and friends. And that's what you want to do. So when we're negotiating these prices, remember, you're dealing with people. You're not dealing with robots. You're not dealing with companies. You're dealing with John or Sarah who've owned this property for 27 years, maybe inherited it from their dad, or maybe their kids took their very first steps across in the living room. We're dealing with real people. When you're negotiating these terms, remember, we're dealing with the hearts of people, monies of people, and the futures of people. So we navigate those terms with the end in mind, meaning win-win. If I win and they lose, it's a lose. If I lose and they win, it's a lose. We both have to win in order to make the deal successful. And when you're negotiating those terms, remember, terms more important than price. I'll pay a little bit more for a property as long as I can get those terms to work where my monthly payment is less than I can rent it out for. Or I can sell it for more than I buy it for if my goal is to either wholesale or fix or flip the property. About 12 months ago, this exact scenario hit me. I played basketball with this guy, began to become a friend. We began to talk, and he mentioned to me he was in real estate. I'm like, hey, I'm in real estate. We started talking, and he told me his dad had 23 rental properties he was looking to sell and was looking to sell it to him, the son. And so the son was asking me some negotiating tactics and how to get this deal done where him and his dad could could still win, because while his dad wanted to sell them, his dad still needed the retirement income from the property. So his dad needed to look out for him and his wife as well. And so as the son is negotiating this, he's asking me, and then the son decides, you know what? I don't really think I want to be in the rental game. I kind of like the fix and flip game, so I think I'm just going to not do this. And he asked me, would you like to step in and take the deal? And I'm like, I can have a conversation. I sit down with his dad, 65 years old. His dad wants retirement income. He doesn't want the loan paid off for 15 years because he wants to make sure he has enough money for the majority of his life, and him and his wife. And so he said, one of the stipulations is you can't pay me off for 15 years. Well, that's pretty hard, because when you can't pay somebody off for 15 years, he also wanted 5% interest. Man, 5% interest, I can get probably 3.5% from the bank, so I'm paying 1.5% more. He wants $850,000. That's where I ended up winning. That was one of my wins, because it was really worth about $1 million. And so he was going to give it $850,000 to me when it was really worth $1 million, as long as I didn't pay him off for 15 years, and I gave him 1.5% higher. We agreed. A week later, I get the call. He's like, Mike, I don't think I can do the deal. I'm like, wow, what the heck's going on? He said, I think the monthly payment is too low for what my wife and I need, because we're moving down south, and I just don't think we can do it. So I started thinking. I said, Rich, what if I gave you one more point in interest? I took you from 5 to 6. I'll give you another $1,000 a month. He looked at it and he's like, that would work. He said, are you sure you can do that? I looked at it and it definitely worked for me. So we ended up doing the deal. See, we negotiated the terms where it was a win for him and a win for me. And this is the truth in seller financing. It's never been more true in any other real estate scenario that you worry about the seller getting what they need and want. Because not only is it going to be a much better experience throughout the whole deal, but they're going to tell other people. They're going to tell other people. Now we have 23 units that pay us nearly $6,000 a month, and here's the big kicker. He didn't want a down payment. He didn't care about the down payment. He cared about the longevity of the money. He handed me $1 million worth of property, and I didn't put one penny into the deal, because this is the kind of content I knew how to apply. If you go do this, your life changes. This Christmas, if you apply these principles at Christmas time, you're going to have a whole lot different kinds of conversation around the tree. Make sure you tune in for part 2 of this 2-part series on how you can start getting real estate without using any of your own money. I'll see you in part 2.